Hello, Ministry of Testing, and welcome back to 30 Days of Tools live stream. It's just me today. Boo. Mark has every other Monday off to look after his kids. So yeah, you get me. I hope you've aware of 30 Days of Tools. If you're not already, there is a QR code on the screen as well as the URL. Basically, for October, MOT is focusing on tools. We have a mission really to make people as tool aware as possible. We feel that the more tools you're aware of, the more options you have once you've evaluated your context to pick the right tool for the job. So this month we've designed 30 challenges. We give out a challenge every day, which is designed to get you sharing tool knowledge, sharing tools you're aware of, how to use tools, your own opinions on tools, how you evaluate your tools, and so forth and so forth. And on Friday, me and Mark streamed about Challenge 1. We shared our favourite tools. Mine was Charles Proxy, and Mark's was Postman. But today we're going to do Challenge 2. Well, I'm going to do Challenge 2, 3, and 4. I'm also going to have a look on the club to see what everyone else has been saying about the challenges. So let's get on. Challenge 2. So, Challenge 2 from Saturday was, my screen's over here, what makes a tool a testing tool? It's such a weird question. Well, it feels like a weird question, but is it? So, firstly, if you've not partaken in this challenge, head to this URL, find Challenge 2 in the timeline, click on it, and contribute. So, what is a testing tool? Now, is it a cop-out answer? I'm not entirely sure. The answer that comes to mind is a tool that facilitates or supports testing. So you could argue that you could probably make any tool into a testing tool. Now, I think then the flip side of that is when tools are specifically designed for that job. So, we can probably turn any tool into anything, I've seen people crazy stuff, cooking on car engines or car hoods or, cooking on the pavement, right? You can do that, but you're better off using a cooker and a frying pan. The same for certain tools. We can use, let's say, we could use Excel to manage our test cases. Right? If you're still managing test cases, you could use Excel to do that. However, there's better design tools out there. You could, use direct C-level commands to do all your automation if you want. Or you could use a tool like Selenium or Cypress that have made it all slightly easier for you. So I think that's the kind of thing. There's tools that we can use to facilitate testing. They may not be designed for it. And then there's a whole suite of tools that are specifically designed to help with some part of testing that they've identified. So yeah, I think for me, that's what I would go for. And it's kind of easier to evaluate some of the ones that are designed to facilitate or support testing because, you could argue, well, are they actually doing it? If they've said that that's what they're going to do, then, that's what we could do. Just seen a question from Lee Marshall. No, I didn't get a second, I'm afraid. Someone was very keen, but then unfortunately work has got in the way. So yeah, just get me, Lee. That would be for me. That would be Challenge 2. So I'm going to have a look down some of the thread. James Espy's back in here again. So he's gone down the route of actually defining testing to start with, being about uncovering risks and ongoing management and success of risks. So therefore, any tool that really supports that. He's gone down the route of all sorts really: automation IDEs, source control, CI/CD tools, pretty much anything. And he says he struggled with the question of what is a testing tool because it doesn't really bother him. If it helps do the job, then it becomes a testing tool. So yeah, excellent there. We have Canisispus. I'm not entirely sure how you pronounce that name. But they've gone down the route of basically a tool that can show changes in a system. Tools that help him explore. Again, pipelines are in there. It feels like, how do I know if it's a testing tool? Basically, if I've been told to use it for such a testing tool, but then being able to compare different tools as well. So yeah, there's lots of there. We've got Mickey on the go. Mickey's come up with basically, again, any tool that can help me do my testing. can be considered a testing tool. How do I know if it's a testing tool? Basically, it makes it easier. If it makes my testing easier to conduct. And then how do you know if a tool is not a testing tool? If it feels like it starts to hampering your process. I think that's interesting there, that like, there's the process of the tool is actually helping me. But even if it starts to hamper me, it could still, it's probably still a testing tool, but perhaps not one that's suitable for your context, which is important there. Oh, look, Mark's chipped in. So he might not be here in person, but he's chipped in on the club. So he feels like he reckons Mickey's nailed it for him there. Anything that assists my testing is what I would go with. And I like the definition of things that don't limit my thinking around what a tool is. Absolutely. Who else have we got in here? We've got Andrea Jensen. When using digital analog tools, I've never really asked myself if this is a testing tool. I just guess whatever goes. So yeah, there's clearly a theme here that basically, any tool that really supports the job is kind of what we're going here. We've got Anne Lurie. Again, lots of tools that she prefers that seem to be her favourite tool. And then really, if I can use it, then I'm going to use it, is pretty much what she's put, which is awesome. Jason, again, he's praising Mickey for his thought-out response. Instead of asking what is a testing tool, though, he suggested what tool would help me better accomplish this task. Again, this is really, really cool because it's kind of the theme of what we're going with 30 Days of Tools, like this idea of being tool-aware. You start with the task, or you start with the problem. And then if you've got this massive, toolbox shed full of tools, let's use that analogy, then you can select what you believe to be the right tool for the job. If your toolbox has only got 2 tools in it, then that's kind of, you're limited in your options. So it's great to see there. Teresa is again coming in as well, something that helps contribute to the speedy delivery of usable Colden features. So again, they're moving away from like testing per se and actually looking at the bigger picture. If it helps me and my team deliver software quickly, it's a testing tool. How do you know it's a testing tool? You see a tester using it. Excellent response. So moving on, we got Butch. Butch is coming in with the context straight away. If I'm using an API, if I'm testing an API, a mobile emulate isn't going to help me much. But if I need to test a command line utility, then private dev tool isn't going to help me much. So again, all depends on what it is I'm up to. And again, I think, like I said, when you define your problem or your task, you can pick into the right tool. Oh God, there's so many replies. It's awesome. I'm going to scroll a little bit. Cyprian is coming up with anything that improves the team's ability to test. Fantastic. And then we'll end here with Dominic. So basically a tool, definition of testing tool is a tool that's primarily used for testing, but not limited to. So lots of interesting thoughts there. Again, these challenges are just designed, as we saw in the thread there, just to get people thinking. Just get them, pondering some of this stuff. All right, so Mark's coming on here. My thing doesn't work because for some reason they all go white. So we're going to play around with this just to satisfy Mark. So if I'm not being silly, I should be able to... why can't I can't make you white, Mark? I don't know why. It's just not playing games. What about that? Hey, there we go. I feel there's something missing from this stream. No, there's not. This stream is perfect. Bye, Mark. So, that's challenge 2. Let's move on to challenge 3. Challenge 3 from Sunday. Share how you evaluate a new tool. This is such a great question. So we're talking about making you all aware of more tools. But how do we actually then decide if a tool is good or not, or useful? So that was the challenge of day 3. How do you evaluate a tool? So Simon Tomes, community boss at Ministry of Testing, has given us a few hints here. How do you discover things that you like or dislike about a tool? How do you make a reasonable evaluation? How do you know you've found the one? And what is the biggest turn-off when evaluating a new tool? So for me, the way I talk about this, and it actually is something we cover in automation and testing, is I do the basically an advanced hello world, let's call it. So I have a 10-minute rule, and if I always identify my problem first, and I'm like, right, I think that tool should help me. I do a 10-minute rule. Can I do the simplest thing I want to do with that tool in 10 minutes? If I can't, I will see how I got on. But if I'm really struggling, then I know that's probably not a tool for me and I'm going to lose a lot of time. So a simple example would be, let's take web UI automation. I know I've got a more complex scenario that I want to run, but my first 10 minutes, if I can't get the browser open, going to Google and doing a search, that tool probably isn't going to be suitable for me, because either it's not as intuitive as perhaps I need it to be, or perhaps it's just laid out in a way that just doesn't align with the way I like to use certain tools or my expectations of a certain tool. So obviously there is situations where I will persist. Perhaps, the community is absolutely singing the praises of this tool, so, I give it a little bit longer. But I would say I always time box. I have to time box, otherwise I end up standing up all night trying to get tools to do what it's meant to, trying to get a tool to do something. And there's plenty of tools out there. If I time box it, I'm giving myself the ability to go and try other tools in that same period. And maybe I find that they're all difficult. So, I choose one or two to stick with. But yeah, time box it, make a scenario. I always don't do the scenario I intended to do. I try and do one that's slightly simpler just to get up to speed how it's going. And comments in here, Mark Wintringham, his if it delights me. So if you're starting to get a bit of joy straight away, could be a tool that might be work for you. So I'm going to have a scroll through the chat again. Teresa is back, fantastic. I think that's free. That might be free for Teresa. What's what she's put here? So when she's in terms of deciding whether to actually get hands on with a tool, she starts with a few other questions first, which is interesting. So does it sound like it has features that might help me? So again, I think emphasizing this, that she's aware of what she wants to do with the tool. So, does the documentation, the marketing, etc. highlight that it might solve the problems that she has? Do I know anyone who says it's good? So this is why it's really important of you all sharing your insights into tools. Because if you lot say it's good, and if you're someone that perhaps, people might follow your tweets, follow your posts, follow your blogs, seen your talks, read your books, anything that you do in the community, if some people get attached to people and maybe, they see you comment and it's like, well, if that person, says it's good, then I'm going to give it a go. Is it used by a lot of people? So again, is there a community buzz about it? Perhaps the tool might have a lot of followers on some social platforms, or they might be doing really good things that get noted. So therefore, it might be, if a lot of people are using it, must bias maybe, but we expect it to maybe be pretty good. Does it have any good reviews? So I think, again, that's interesting to see. If there's a cost associated to it, can I work out how much that benefit would be? And then basically they get the team to bring that back and use that information to see what to do. So that's quite interesting. We've got James Espy back in again. Again, he's emphasizing that he starts with the problems we're trying to solve, the requirements. What does success look like? And also he mentions timelines. And then they'll spike out a few options. He doesn't really dig into the... he does dig into it. So he's given the case of an end-to-end test framework. We wrote a single test using WebDriver IO, Cypress, Playwright, and Catalan. And we made notes about the pros and cons of each of these in a Notion page. And then based on that, they pick some to take forward. So again, really interesting there. Design the experiment, time box it, keep it nice and small. Run that on multiple different tools, see how you get on. Interesting approach there from James. Anne-Marie is back again. So I love to explore new tools just as much as I love exploratory testing. So yes, relevant communities, documentation, and then again, kind of make a judgment from the material whether it will be interesting for me. There's never the right tool. She says she's never found the one tool. There's always pros and cons. Sad face. And then what is the biggest turn off? Basically, poor documentation. So there you go, tool. If you're open source tool or you're a tool vendor, sort your documentation out and see how you get on. So Mickey's back. We'll skip Mickey. We'll find someone new. So we've got Harley here. So normally Harley says I look at the goal of the tool I'm looking at. I read the documentation reviews and see if it would be a good fit. And therefore, after that, we basically give it a go, is what he's saying here. And then if I found the one, I've ran out of alternatives. So like he got to this point where he's actually written it's good enough. So, he's never really found the one, but it's good enough to progress. It's helping me solve the problems I'm trying to do. Therefore, I'm going to crack on. I'm going to stick with it. It might not necessarily be the one, but it's good enough. I'm progressing. I like that. That's nice. We've got Thomas. He's looking at things like, is it flexible? Is it easy to change? Does it have a community? Again, really interesting, because obviously Ministry of Testing, we're a very broad community. But perhaps, if you're picking a tool, does it have its own kind of micro community where you can get lots of help and support? What else have we got here? Again, there's lots of assumed things that I just want to emphasize. I know I'm repeating myself, but it's really nice to see the patterns through these answers. Does it meet my expectations? Is it good enough? I think that's it. Really making sure you understand your expectations of a tool. Like if you go in thinking this tool's just going to be, solve all your problems, you're probably never going to evaluate that tool quite highly. But if you go in with just a handful of problems, you might find that actually, it is a pretty good tool. And then for his turn-offs for a tool, no community, poor documentation, strange license. So by weird licensing, I've seen some really weird licensing models in the past. They get really complex. You need a license to be able to use the tool on your machine. You need another license to be able to run it as an agent on a platform. Yeah, you can get some weird tooling, weird licenses. Again, the cost could be quite a turn-off if it's a paid subscription. How long does that run for? And then interestingly, he's added here if the product's unstable. So and if it's in constant change. So I'm guessing I read between the lines, but constant change can be a good thing if it's always features. But if it's unstable, and also if they're changing, I don't know, let's for example APIs and common methods all the time, that could be quite difficult. I've got a comment on the chat here from Lee. Trouble I've had with tools in the past is getting the company's buy-in. If it's free, they don't trust it, but if it costs, they won't pay for it. And again, what I would do in such a situation really is if I can define my problem and I can make it clear and they can relate to my problem, and then I can explain how the tool's going to help, then hopefully, there's a bit of narrative to it. But yeah, I absolutely agree. There's still companies that insist you can't use open source tools for various reasons, security reasons and so forth. But yeah, then balk at the cost of some of the other tools. And all you can do for me is share that narrative, I think. We've got Christoph here. How does he discover new tools? He just doesn't, he looks at many tools and compares them. He looks at how if it's easy to use, can my team also use it? Because it's not just him who's going to be utilizing the tool. He's actually commented about Mark's little thing, the little buzz, the little delight when you're using a tool. It's like, oh, this is just so nice. It just works. Happy days. Who else have we got in here? Anyone new we've not seen? Oh, we've got one from Kaz at the end here. I use tools using a Pew Matrix. I'm not entirely sure what that is, but I list down the requirements along with any support and the costs associated to it, and this helps me create a score. Let's just have a quick Google here. I've never heard of the Pew Matrix. It's a criteria-based decision matrix used to determine several potentials and alternatives at once. Oh, interesting. So it's part of Six Sigma. But yeah, interesting. So it's got kind of, utilizing an existing framework there to come up with an evaluation. Nice work, Kaz. All right, so we'll move on. Today's challenge, day 4. Challenge 4. Pick a tool you've never used to evaluate over the 30 days. So you've just heard lots of great advice for evaluating a tool. So now we have the next challenge following on. Pick a tool and let us know what it is. And over the next rest of the 30-day challenges, we want you to give it a go, evaluate it, and we eventually will get you to share back how you got on. So we've got a few things you can do here. You can select a tool that you've seen somebody else explain. Perhaps there's one that you've just been sat on that backlog for a while. Or we actually built a tool, I can't talk, the wheel of tools. So I'm going to see if I can knock up a quick, I know I've gone off screen for a second, but let's just turn this on. No, it's not going to let me do that. So there we go. So I don't know who made this. It might have been Mark. Actually, I think it might have been Simon, actually. But might have been a combination of everyone. But we've created you the Wheel of Tools. So, there is actually a sound effect, but if you spin it, it spins and you see what you get. So, I got Can I Use? I have no idea what Can I Use is. Is that a tool? Let's have a look. Can I Use? Yes, it is. It is. I have no idea what it is. Anyway, you see the point. You spin the wheel, see what you get. Go back to this. So I'm going to go back to the challenge. And I'm going to pick a tool. So I'm actually going to pick a tool. Mark would like me to pick him a tool. Okay, Mark, 1 second. So I will spin again for Mark. It's spinning, Mark. You can't see. You'll have to trust me. Mark, you landed on edit this cookie. So that's the tool that you have to evaluate. Edit this cookie. Fantastic. So for me personally, though, there's actually a tool that I saw on Twitter the other day. I believe, it was Kent C. Dodds, it was actually, who was tweeting about this tool. And I mentioned on the stream the other day about a tool called Responsively App. And there's actually proclaimed, but there's a new shiny tool that does something very similar called, I think it's called Sissy Browser. It's got a weird name, but it's called Sissy Browser with a Z, so sizzy.co. And it's basically a browser-based, a browser specifically built for developers. So it makes a lot of the debugging easier. It makes having things like multiple views easier. So that's the tool that I'm personally going to choose. And then if I have a look at who's commented so far to see what they've gone with. So Christoph is going to have a look at Sherlock. I'm not entirely sure what Sherlock does. Let's have a quick click on Sherlock. Usage. Usefully, their project doesn't explain what Sherlock is. Let's see if Christoph's explained what it is. Hunt down social media accounts by username. So it seems to be some sort of way of finding social media accounts. Not entirely sure. What else have we got? James SB, he spun the wheel and he landed on page test, but he didn't know what it was. It didn't come back, so he searched again and got curl. So he's had a bit of an exploration on curl. Teresa's always heard of bug. Oh no, I've never heard of bug magnet, so I'm going to give that a go. And I'm also going to go back and check out Wave, which is clearly something that's been on her radar. Gil spanned the wheel and landed on Mockaroo. Never heard of it, but it looks perfect for my needs. So therefore, that's fantastic. Mickey had a spin on the wheel and got Wave. Cyprian is going to try Striker. And after that, they're going to try SonarCube, which is interesting. And Sarah spanned the wheel and got Curl. So again, the wheel's there just as a hand, a helping hand. Try whatever tool you like, whatever tool you've heard of, but the goal here is to pick a tool and, like I said, evaluate it and see how you get on. So, that's it. That's challenge 2, 3, and 4. Thank you for watching the live stream. If you've not taken part in 30 days before, please get amongst it. There's so many ways you can partake. You don't have to post on the club. You can just do the challenges on your own. You can post updates underneath this video. You can tweet. You can blog. You can do whatever you like. But as an awesome community that we are, we just want everyone talking about tools, becoming more tool aware, and increasing our toolbox so that we've got lots more options for when we come to try and solve all our awesome testing problems. So yeah, check out the link. You can subscribe as well if you haven't already to wherever you're watching this in terms of the YouTube channels and things. But also, you can subscribe to 30 Days of Tools and we will send you the daily challenges in your inbox as well. So thank you all for watching and speak to you soon. Bye for now.